Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. A lot to get to in tonight's Trump time. We start with President Trump's plans to launch a self-deportation program. The plan will provide migrants with some money and a plane ticket to get the hell on. There's no information on the timeline of that program or how much money will be offered. Joining us to talk about it tonight, political analyst Angela Box, Dr. Dietrich von Biedenfeld, and University of Houston downtown professor Dr. David Branham. I'm glad to have you all here on The Factor Uncensored. Good plan, bad plan, Angela, because we are spending more money when we're supposed to be saving money. Your thoughts?
This is a use of my tax dollars I can absolutely get behind, and I have to say it's a great idea that I'm sure the Democrats will have a problem with. And to this I say, I really do hope that they continue on this trajectory that they're on with defending the indefensible, with wanting to bring a bunch of illegal alien criminals back into the United States and just, put them in your communities. I think this is a winning message for Democrats. And I think if they keep up with this stuff, we're going to get like 3/4 of the Congress in the midterm. So keep it up. I think it's a great idea. I think it's innovative. And, Joe Biden has spent umpteen billions and billions of dollars to house, feed, and clothe illegal aliens. Why not use that money to get them to get on, as you would say?
All right, Dr. Branham, your thoughts on this self-deportation effort?
Well, the truth is that Donald Trump isn't deporting these people as fast as he wants. And when he does do it, it costs a lot of money. I've talked in the past about how much money it costs because you have all these agreements, you have to provide all these resources and so forth. This will actually be cheaper for him to actually get somebody out of the country that he wants out of the country. The plane ticket and the stipend are nothing in comparison to what it's going to cost to actually do this deportation through two governments.
And paint a picture for those who are wondering, how much would it cost to go the official way, the traditional way in this country?
Well, I don't have the exact figures in my head.
Not case by case, but millions of dollars, right?
Billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. When you get down to it, when you start talking about all that goes into a deportation, and the fact that he's talking about at least 600,000 deportations that he wants. This is billions of dollars. So the actual cost of doing it legally, making the agreements between the governments, flying them there, is a lot more than just saying, "Would you please get on the plane? Here's your ticket. Here's a stipend to get you, along the way, and then you can go, and then we're going to let you apply to come back, because we may want you back."
All right, Dr. von Biedenfeld, your thoughts?
Yeah, starting with the negatives, of course, if you leave, possession is 9/10 of the law. So in that sense, if you have a place in the United States and that standing, you have access to court systems, due process, and those things, it's a lot easier to protest your rights. Now, if you self-deport, you're voluntarily doing this, you're not availing yourself, and
are you essentially also pleading guilty? Like, yeah, I came in here illegally.
And the idea is then we can, of course, do some things like genius grants, right, where we self-select and say, okay, these individuals can come back. And that's what President Trump has said, is that the good ones, to use his terminology, can come back. And what does that mean? Well, it'll
left me feeling some kind of way when you said
the good ones. So those are his words. And in that sense, the benefit for national security, though, that's a negative. The benefit for national security is then you actually identify individuals, you have records of them, and instead of the billions of dollars that Dr. Branham's talking about, it's a small stipend, and you're not paying for housing in other areas of
And do you guys think, really quick, anyone will take up this offer?
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, especially when Trump is saying, look, we're going to
30 seconds, go.
The CB1 app to basically saying you're going to deport, and if you do it correctly, you can come back. I mean, I this whole due process for illegal aliens, they don't have due process. They aren't citizens of the United States. Period. Out the end. Like, this is nonsense. And the left is really going out on a limb here that the American people do not support.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue this conversation here on The Factor when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Factor. The Trump administration is suing the state of Maine over transgender athletes participating in girls' sports. Now, the lawsuit accuses Maine's education department of violating Title IX, which bans sex-based discrimination in federally funded schools. The lawsuit follows the Trump administration administration's threat to cut Maine's federal school funding over this issue. Our guests are back. Angela, your thoughts on this?
Again, I'm loving this. I hope that they continue down this road. This is a 90-10 issue, and 90% of the country is like, yeah, biological males should not be competing with women. This is a no-brainer. And, I mean, they don't have a leg to stand on. They're going to lose this case. In fact, it's so absurd the time we live in. The UK government actually had to come out in the Supreme Court and say, yeah, there is such thing as biological sex. That just happens. So have fun, Maine. You won't get any money.
Dr. Von Biedenfeld, your thoughts?
It's definitely personal, but this administration has shown that they are not afraid to take off the gloves, and whether it be AP, USAID, or any of those things, they're like, we don't like what you're doing, and we're going to take the gloves off. At the end of the day, Maine taxpayers are going to fund the federal government's lawsuits against them. And this Title IX use is interesting. I will say the language legally, it's ambiguous. It depends. And that's how lawyers like it, because you get paid plaintiff or defense. But at the end of the day, Maine is likely to lose.
All right, Dr. Brannon.
Well, the majority of the country are on the president's side on this, just like Angela was talking about, and this is a Title IX issue. Title IX has done great things for women's sports in this country. And you can just see it. You can see the progression over the last 4 decades and how women have done. Now there's a fear that having somebody who was born as a male and went through male puberty going into women's sports would actually wreck that. And so that's going to be the argument of Pam Bondi and the Title IX group going forward, and it's going to be tough to overcome that.
All right, next topic. The state of California becomes the first in the country to sue President Trump, trying to block his extensive new tariffs. The lawsuit is challenging the president's authority to impose tariffs without consulting Congress. California says it is the country's largest state economy and will be severely impacted by the trade levies. Your thoughts, Dr. Von Biedenfeld?
I think this is another loser in the sense that executive branch authority, the Supreme Court, continues to reaffirm President Trump and other administrations' authority in international affairs. This is international trade policy. This is one of our 50 states. Sorry, Governor Newsom, you may have logical arguments as the 5th largest economy, but at the end of the day, the Supreme Court seems very firmly on the side of the executive branch. And we've seen presidentially, Republican presidents tend to do better in the Supreme Court, right? Obama had one of the worst records of wins in the Supreme Court for an administration, when we compare it to 60% for, W and some of these other folks.
All right, guys, we have 1 minute left. Dr. Branham.
Well, when it comes to this, Dietrich's right. There's no way for a state to interfere with commerce in the United States. The federal government runs that. The only people who can actually stop Donald Trump on this are Congress, and Congress is not going to do it as long as Speaker Johnson is there.
All right,
Angela? Again, this guy, it's like, just you keep going. That's all I have to say. Just keep doing this, California, because you are making our case for us. You cannot create laws on the state level that affect federal tariff laws. That's an Article 2 power. And, they'll find a left-wing judge to take it on. That I have no doubt, but they will lose.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us here on the